the bold and the beautiful Luna's final gambit inside the sterile, cold visitation room of the correctional facility, the air hung heavy with tension. It wasn't the first time Luna sat across from the glass, but this was different. She was running out of time. The baby inside her was growing, and with every passing week, the conditions around her worsened. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, and the guards stood rigid, uninterested in the raw desperation pulsing in Luna's voice. But while sitting just a few feet away, jaw clenched, eyes sunken from sleepless nights, heard everything. Luna didn't plead. She strategized. With the limited freedom she had, she played her cards with precision. She painted a brutal picture for Will, the danger to the baby, the lack of prenatal care, the substandard nutrition, the complete absence of any specialized medical supervision. She made it clear this wasn't about her anymore. This was about their child, about the life that Bill Spencer had decided was expendable. She demanded 3 things: proper medical evaluation, access to a real lawyer to challenge the nature of her detention, and most of all, Will's presence during childbirth. No compromise, no delays. But the moment Bill's name came up, the dynamic shifted. Will had been trying, quietly, to get Luna better treatment. He'd hit walls, legal ones, corporate ones, and most of all, ones made of his father's influence. Bill Spencer wasn't just powerful, he was immovable, cold, detached, decisive. And when word of Luna's request reached him, his response came like a hammer blow. No access, no medical upgrade, no visitation during labor. He refused to open the gates, as he phrased it, calling it a security liability. Luna knew it would come to this. Bill had made his intentions clear from the beginning. He didn't care if she gave birth behind bars. He didn't care if she survived. What he cared about was control, maintaining the image, the legacy, and erasing anyone who threatened it. And Luna, carrying the child of Will Spencer without the Spencer name's blessing, was a threat. So Luna made a decision that would change everything. A decision born from hopelessness, fear, and the fierce instinct to protect her child by any means necessary. She approached one of the women inside the prison, a known aggressor, someone who had a history of violence and grudges. Luna whispered to her in the yard, offered up a trade, provoke her, beat her, cause enough damage to get her moved to the prison hospital. The woman was skeptical at first, but Luna offered something more information. A favor owed, something dangerous and valuable in a place like this. The beating was savage. The alarms went off too late. Luna was left bleeding, her face bruised, ribs cracked. She collapsed in her cell, and when the guards finally moved her, she was unconscious. But her plan worked. She was transferred to the hospital wing inside the prison. When Will heard the news, he shattered. He rushed to the facility, demanding answers, screaming at the front desk, threatening lawsuits. He didn't know yet that Luna had orchestrated the entire thing. He thought she was being punished, neglected. It wasn't until hours later, when a guard slipped and mentioned she had it coming, that Will started to piece it together. Luna woke in the hospital with monitors beeping steadily beside her. The baby was still alive, heartbeat strong, but the doctors made it clear. Any more trauma, any more stress, and the outcome wouldn't be so lucky. She'd risked everything. When Will finally got access to her, through a last-minute push from his own legal team, his face was a storm. "What did you do?" he whispered, trying not to cry. She didn't flinch. "What I had to," she said. "You think Bill's going to let me out of here alive? You think he cares about this child? He made it clear I'm disposable. But I'm not going to sit here and die quietly." Will sat beside her for hours, torn between admiration and fury. He saw the bruises on her skin, the pain she tried to hide, and the unbreakable will behind her tired eyes. He knew now this wasn't a negotiation anymore. This was war. News of the assault leaked to the media. Luna's condition stirred public sympathy. Advocacy groups began questioning her detainment. Some whispered that the Spencer family had gone too far. The headlines didn't use Bill's name, but everyone knew who they were talking about. Bill responded swiftly. He called it manipulation by a known liar, accused Luna of manufacturing drama to gain public favor. He sent lawyers to threaten the hospital, the guards, even Will, but Will had reached his limit. He met with Bill in person. For the first time since Luna's imprisonment, father and son stood face to face with no pretense. Bill didn't apologize. He didn't explain. He simply said, "You're too soft for this. You're letting her ruin you." Will snapped. "She's the mother of my child. She's not ruining me, you are. You're killing us both." Bill turned, calm as ever. "You don't understand power, Will. You never did. Sometimes we have to sacrifice pieces to save the game." Will took a deep breath, stepped closer. "Then sacrifice me." He walked out that day and made his decision. Using the public pressure, the medical reports, and testimony from sympathetic guards, Will's legal team filed an emergency motion to release Luna under medical parole. But Bill, always 10 steps ahead, countered. He arranged for the motion to be buried under procedural delays. Then came the final straw. A leaked internal memo revealed that Bill had personally intervened to block Luna's hospital transfer weeks earlier, proving he had direct control over her suffering. Will confronted him again, this time with evidence in hand. And Bill, finally cornered, made a threat. "If you go forward with this, I'll bury her." And you? That night, Will didn't sleep. He sat in his car outside the facility for hours. In his glove compartment, the same gun he once threatened his father with loaded. His fingers hovered over it, mind spiraling. He could end this. One bullet and the nightmare would stop. But then he looked at the photo on his dashboard, Luna smiling, hand on her belly. He turned the key and drove to every reporter who'd listen. He gave interviews, showed the memo, exposed everything, and the tide turned. Social media exploded. Advocacy organizations filed new petitions. Protesters gathered outside Spencer Tower, demanding accountability. Bill was forced into silence. His board panicked. His legal team fractured. The pressure mounted. And finally, the court relented. Luna was granted release under strict medical supervision. Will was by her side as she walked out of the prison, frail but free, into a sea of flashing cameras. They didn't speak much that day. There were too many emotions, too much pain still hanging between them. But as they stepped into the hospital for the final phase of care, Will turned to her, voice hoarse. "You didn't lose. And you won't." Luna gave birth 2 weeks later. Complications made it dangerous, but she survived. The baby, a boy, was healthy. They named him Eli, but as Will held his son for the first time, he knew it wasn't over. Bill hadn't spoken a word since Luna's release, but silence was never his style. It meant he was preparing something. And whatever it was, it would be brutal. The war for Eli's future had just begun. The bold and the beautiful, the reckoning of Hope after ending her engagement to Carter Walton. Hope Logan stood at the center of a storm she hadn't fully anticipated. Her decision swift, but rooted in doubt, shattered more than a romance. It fractured alliances, reignited dormant tensions, and set off a cascade of consequences that threatened to consume everyone around her. Carter, blindsided by the breakup, said little in the moment. His heartbreak was silent, heavy, unprocessed. But the ripple of pain from that silence spread like wildfire through Forrester Creations and the lives entangled within it. Hope didn't make the choice lightly. Her relationship with Carter had been built on mutual respect, admiration, and a genuine desire for something stable. But it lacked the fire, the impossible, chaotic fire that had always bound her to Liam. Despite everything, Liam Spencer remained the gravitational pull at the center of her world. And with the ring returned and the promises to Carter broken, everyone around her could see it. The door to Liam had opened again. Deacon Sharp, her father, wasted no time. He approached Hope within days, telling her point blank that she needed to stop fighting fate. "You and Liam, you don't just make sense. Your destiny, kid," he said. Every time you fall apart, something drags you back together. Maybe it's time to stop pretending that's a coincidence. Brooke, too, saw the potential for a reunion, not just for Hope's happiness, but for the restoration of something deeper, more rooted in the family legacy she'd spent years protecting. She reminded Hope of Beth, of the life they once had as a family, of the balance that had always seemed just out of reach. Brooke had long believed that Steffi was the obstacle, not the partner, and that Hope and Liam's love-flawed, bruised, but still alive deserved a second resurrection. Hope resisted at first. The guilt over Carter still lingered. He hadn't done anything wrong. He hadn't betrayed her. He had offered her security and kindness. But love doesn't always reward the ones who deserve it most. Hope knew that. She had tried to rewrite her story with Carter, but the ink kept smearing. She kept thinking of Liam, his voice, his smile, the daughter they shared, the history they couldn't seem to bury. And so, inevitably, the past surged forward. Liam hadn't expected the call. He was still caught in the awkward rhythms of co-parenting with Steffi and navigating the emotional wreckage from their own imploded attempt at family. His life was already complicated, but when Hope's name lit up his phone, he answered without hesitation. Their first conversation was awkward, tentative, but the subtext was clear. There were unresolved feelings on both sides. And once they met in person, standing together outside the cabin where they'd once built their life memories flooded in like a wave, Liam looked at her, uncertain but open. "Is this about Beth, or is this about us?" he asked. Hope didn't answer right away. She didn't have to. Her eyes said everything. Steffi knew before Liam even told her. She saw it in his change of mood, in the way he started pulling back during their conversations, in the sudden silences between texts. She confronted him directly, not out of jealousy, but out of hard-earned wisdom. "You don't get to do this again, Liam," she warned. "You don't get to bounce between us and pretend it's love. Make a choice. But if you go back to her, stay there." Beth, still young but intuitive, noticed the shift too. When her parents sat beside her at the same table again, laughing, talking, being warm, it triggered something. A spark of hope, no pun intended, that her family could be whole again. Hope saw it. So did Liam. And it began to feel like maybe this reunion wasn't about longing or regret. It was about healing something broken. But the echoes of the past don't fade quietly. Ridge Forrester, never one to stay out of family drama, expressed concern over Hope's pattern of emotional reversals. He supported Carter and respected the pain the man was in. "You can't just move through people like their phases, Hope," Ridge told her. "Carter gave you everything, and now what? You go back to Liam because it's familiar." Carter, meanwhile, withdrew. At first, he buried himself in work. Then came the self-reflection. Who was he if not the man women came to for safety but left for passion? Quinn, Paris, Katie, and now Hope. He had been the fallback to many times. The dependable shoulder, the clean exit. But not anymore. This time, Carter looked in the mirror and saw a man tired of being forgotten. He stepped back from Forrester, took time off, booked a trip overseas. He needed distance not just from Hope, but from everything. Hope felt the weight of it. She didn't apologize publicly. She couldn't. But she reached out to Carter one last time. A letter. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She only wrote that she never lied about caring for him. But sometimes hearts follow the wrong path to find the right ending. As the weeks passed, her connection with Liam deepened. They re-established their rhythm, slow and steady. Dinners with Beth, long walks in Malibu, conversations about the past and the mistakes they swore not to repeat. But the world didn't wait for them to catch up. Steffi, hurt but composed, began shifting her energy fully to her marriage with Finn. She doubled down on stability. Ridge backed her. Taylor, sensing the resurrection of old patterns, grew cold toward Hope, no longer masking her mistrust. The Forresters and Logans began to fracture again. Old feuds resurfaced. Loyalty lines blurred. Eric voiced his disapproval quietly, reminding Ridge that family peace must be protected above personal vendettas. But even Eric couldn't ignore the toll this was taking on the legacy families. Meanwhile, Brooke sensed that this reunion between Hope and Liam wasn't just romantic. It was political. It meant reclaiming space from the Forresters. It meant proving that Logan women didn't have to settle. But no one felt the tension more than Liam. Being back with Hope stirred love, but also pressure, guilt, memories of all the times he failed her, and the lingering fear. What if this wasn't destiny? What if it was just history repeating itself? Hope saw it too, in the way Liam sometimes paused before speaking, in the way he looked at Steffi when he thought no one noticed. But Hope didn't let herself doubt. Not now. Not when the stakes were finally about family, not just romance. The pressure mounted when Carter returned from his sabbatical calmer, but colder. He'd been offered a major corporate position outside of Forrester. He accepted, and at his farewell gathering, he said little about Hope, only that he wished everyone the clarity to choose love without destroying others in the process. The words lingered in the room like smoke. In the final moments of that night, Hope stood with Liam on the balcony overlooking the city. "This has to work," she whispered, "because if it doesn't, I don't think I'll believe in any of it anymore." Liam nodded, but deep down, he knew love wasn't always enough. And across town, Steffi looked out at the same skyline, holding Finn's hand tightly, whispering to herself that she was done competing. But if Hope ever brought chaos back into her daughter's life, there would be no forgiveness next time. This wasn't just a reunion. It was a reckoning. And in the world of the bold and the beautiful, the past always demands its price.